Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it is just Marco here once again to talk about Kitchen Nightmares Season 10, Episode 5. I can't believe it's already been 5 episodes. But I've really been enjoying watching this show to review it. It's one of my favorite shows to do. So I'm really glad to have finally watched an episode live. Unfortunately, at least as I'm doing this review, I am having trouble finding pictures of the episode. You know, usually with Hell's Kitchen, whenever we would do our 10 o'clock reviews, Safi and I, we would always find, pictures immediately. And so I find that pretty strange. But anyways, this very special episode is a German episode. It is Renata's German Restaurant. And first off, Chef Gordon came today. He came a little bit differently, which sounds weird. I don't know. Chef Gordon Ramsay came very excited to try this food. And I would have been excited too, because I love German food. I love, German cuisine. In fact, a couple of years ago, I went to a convention and they had a German food buffet, Pennsylvania Dutch German buffet. And it was pretty good. They had quite a few things, and the desserts were, of course, incredible. And, German food is like a really special cuisine. And by the way, I wanted to say, I made an observation in the advertisements, because we have criticized, this is like a little tangent, we have been criticizing Master Chef, the quote-unquote global gauntlet, for not really featuring every type of cuisine, and especially American cuisine. There's no Southern food, there's no American food, there's no soul food. I mean, that's just strange. Well, in this episode, I noticed they are calling it like International Territory Battle or something. But they specifically, Gordon Ramsay used the word international, as if that, I guess that's kind of to get out of the criticism of there's really no American food on the show, even though it's supposed to be this quote unquote global gauntlet. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. Maybe they realized that they screwed up with the title, and they had to kind of word it a little bit better. But anyways, yes, Gordon was excited to try this food, and right off the bat, the restaurant, it looked pretty kind of just old, old-fashioned, old. Everything about it looked old. It looked like the type of place that you would go with your school with your class on a field trip, and you go to this place and you'd have to speak German to the waitress, to get a good grade or something, and then you would get your schnitzel lunch, with your third grade class. That's what this restaurant kind of looked like. And as for the menu, there were a ton of options. I mean, so many options. I mean, it's pretty insane how many options you could see, to the point of where I don't know how anyone could handle that. Like any restaurant in the world, I don't know how they would be able to handle so many options and then having like a full house like every day. Like that would be insane stress and insane pressure and, unneeded pressure. Because you don't need like 1,000 food items. You need, I guess, 50, 25 to 50. I mean, even that's a little bit too much. Really should just be like 25 to 30. But see, I'm not counting drinks. You could have all sorts of different types of drinks, and, that's not, but, as for the food, like 25 to 50 things should be enough. But even then, again, that's a little bit too much. So Chef Gordon, he makes some discoveries. He discovers that the soup of the day, it's like, is it like liver and dumplings? Oh, that sounds weird. It might have been chicken and dumplings. See, there were so many things that Gordon ate in this episode. I think it was liver and dumplings. But apparently, this soup, it has been on the menu forever, I guess. Because I guess customers like it, but they said that they only have like 2 tables a day, which is like really, really bad. That's terrible. And, but this soup is called Soup of the Day. And so you would assume from that, well, okay, today you have liver and dumplings. Tomorrow you have tomato, testicle soup, like just anything. It just have a, have a rotation of sorts. But no, one soup. And so Chef Gordon, he gets a little testy because, he was excited, but he's already starting to sense some bullshit is going to happen. And so he gets up and he goes to the whiteboard and he writes Soup of the Decade. And I thought that was great. That was hilarious. Which, honestly, I think if anyone who works at that restaurant is watching this, which probably not, but like, you never know, they should actually put that on the menu as like a promotion. I mean, because if you call it like Soup of the Decade, like you think about like an Elf with Will Ferrell, where he's walking around and he takes the blonde chick on a date and he takes her to get the world's best cup of coffee. And it's just like a regular crappy cup of coffee, as she says. And it's like, if you put Soup of the Decade, you could literally use that in the marketing. You could literally use in the marketing. Chef Gordon, he is quoted in saying it's the Soup of the Decade. And see, I mean, that's free promotion. Good or bad, like, even if the soup was bad, who wouldn't want to try the Soup of the Decade? See? So that's a great idea, even though, I mean, it is a criticism too. But, yeah, the schnitzel, because he got schnitzel. I mean, who wouldn't want to get schnitzel? The schnitzel, I guess the breading there was so much breading, there was hardly any pork, and it tasted, it had a frozen texture on the outside, like he could tell it was previously frozen. And then he gets this thing, I'm just going to call it like a ham hock or a Hawken Watson or something. Like, I can't remember what it was called. I was going to rewatch the episode, but it would not let me. Hulu would not let me. They said I can only do it after 3 a.m. And so it's so funny because this is the one time, like, I'm doing a review for, like, this show on time, and everybody else is not ready. It's just me who's ready. I feel like the universe, it needs to conform to what I want, the schedule that I want. And so, yeah. But this big Hawken Machen, I don't know. It's like a huge piece of meat. You just get this giant clump of meat on your plate. It looks like something out of the medieval times. I mean, it looks like something that, you would get after like a mission to save a damsel in distress in a castle or some shit. Like, it just looks like something's... I mean, I guess it's authentic? I guess? Where's the sides? That's what I want to know, Chef Gordon. Why doesn't Chef Gordon order sides? Does Chef Gordon not like sides? So anyways, he also noted that was tasting frozen. And it turned out the stuff in this restaurant, the food, besides being overly salty. Oh yeah, he got a roulade and it was overly salty or something. He didn't really talk very much about that one, but like, he noted this frozen quality, this pre-frozen quality, previously frozen, I should say. And as it turned out, they will cook stuff and then they freeze it. They cook the meat and then they freeze it and then they put it all in the microwave. Oh. But here's the thing, because I know that you guys have been waiting for me to say this. Chef Gordon, you do not have any right to complain because you sell frozen food. And not just frozen food, frozen meals that are overpriced with tiny portions and are advertised as like, oh, look, you can get Chef Gordon Ramsay's food at home. You can get a beef Wellington bite. You can get some risotto at home. Go to Walmart and hopefully not get shot. Because at our Walmart close to us, there have been like 2 shootings there. So yeah. But anyways, screw Walmart anyways. Walmart sucks. I mean, as soon as Chef Gordon teamed up with Walmart, it was over. Everything was over. The world came to an end. I mean, might as well. I mean, let's think about, like, I'm trying to think about, like, the chefs of TV who I respect. I do not respect the Karen on MasterChef. And Joe, he is not a chef. He's a restaurateur. And he has become like a PG comedy children's movie character or something. And then, let's see, Alton Brown is actually pretty cool. So, Alton Brown, he's the new MVP. Alton Brown, maybe somebody else like Simon Majumdar, from Cutthroat Kitchen. Simon, I wish that they would bring back Simon in some ways. I don't know where he is or what he's doing, but they need to bring him back. But anyways, Chef Gordon, like, throughout this entire episode, I mean, he was very disappointed by the food, which, I guess it's interesting, because I don't think that we've ever seen Chef Gordon eat his own frozen meals. And I could be wrong about that. So, I'm not saying that I'm 100% right about that, but it seems like, from what I've seen, Chef Gordon Ramsay has never eaten his own frozen meals. Maybe he doesn't even know what they taste like. Maybe he doesn't even know what they are. Maybe he just signed a contract and then gave people some recipes and, they just got to do everything they wanted and, without his, fingerprints on it. Because if I get a Chef Gordon frozen meal, I want Gordon Ramsay to personally put his fingers on the food and touch it and put it in the container. I want Chef Gordon's fingerprints on my food because, you're promising me the Gordon Ramsay restaurant experience, which is hilarious because, like, oh, so it's okay for Chef Gordon to sell frozen food. I guess as long as, he's advertising that it's frozen. But then at this restaurant, it's so funny because when he has to eat frozen food from this German place, which I love German food. I'm part German myself. Germany. Maybe it'd be fun to go there someday. I don't know. Have some ham hocks, or whatever that is. Ham Hockenweissen. But when he has to eat frozen food at this place, he doesn't like it anymore. He can't handle it. And I just thought, you know what? Like pretty much almost all of Chef Gordon's criticisms of this food, it really just kind of seemed like, I don't know, like the food must have been bad. It must have been bad if they only had like 2 tables a day. But he's it's a little elitist, honestly, because he sells frozen food. And I'm saying this over and over because the whole entire episode, they complain and talk over and over and over again. Frozen food. She's using the microwave. Oh, you're going to microwave that. It's like, and at one point, they're making a pretzel burger, when he's observing them, performing a night service. And he picks up the hamburger because it's frozen, and he says he could bounce it off of the grill. And it's like, Gordon Ramsay, you are selling frozen food. You are selling frozen food. You should not be talking right now. I mean, I don't know. Does he not know that he sells frozen food? Does he not know that he has a whole section of the frozen food aisle at Walmart dedicated to him? All over the country? I guess he doesn't, conveniently, until he needs to take a picture to advertise for it, and then not even try it himself, by the way. Which, if he really has, then, good on him, but, I haven't seen it. But anyways, now I guess we should talk about the staff at this restaurant. Okay, so this staff, this has got to be, like, in terms of, the staffs so far on this show, this has got to be the most boring. And that's not a bad thing because, like, when you go to a restaurant, like, you don't care about, what your staff is, what the staff is like. You just care if the food's good. If, as long as there's not any pubes in your food, that's what you care about. Which, by the way, Gordon found a fly in his fork, and I thought that would have been a great point for him to say, before I've started my meal, I'm already ready to stick a fork in this place because just imagine finding a fly in your fork. I've never had that happen before, ever. I hope I'm not going to make it happen by saying I've never had it happen and then, tomorrow morning, but anyways, where should I begin? They don't really focus on the servers very much. The servers are just regular. I mean, see, I would say one of the issues with this episode was that it was very choppy. It, once again, didn't really feel like a full story. It felt like a chopped up montage of, like, parts of a story. So that's, like, my summary review of the episode. But anyways, the head honcho, Renata, she is like a classic German woman. And that's the other thing, too. like there's all this BS about like, oh no, the staff is walking on eggshells because they're too afraid of her, and she's not very good at taking criticism. And the whole time I was like, you know what, like this woman is German. Like, what do you expect? Like, seriously, like she is like a classic German woman. She seems pretty nice. What's really funny is that she's pretty quiet for being like a dictator of sorts who, is like, she says that she does the old ways and she's got to learn the new ways. Uh, she's like a very quiet dictator. Like, she'll be like,
No, no, you stay in here. Oh, you don't do that. You take that off the grill.
She's she's very, very quiet for being a dictator, for being a German dictator. German dictators, as we all know from history, they are not very quiet. They don't like to be quiet. In fact, when I took German, because I took German for like 4 years, and I hardly remember any of it because I just don't want to remember anything about school. But a German teacher would talk about how, like, when you're speaking German, you got to be so loud, you're spitting on people. You got to spit all over people to talk German. But she's like the quietest German that I've ever heard. There was no point where she had a blow up like Francis Ford Coppola, and then the crazy R. Kelly supporter. She was worse. So this is like the least offensive dictator that I've ever seen. For being a dictator, she's not terrible. She's just, in fact, I mean, that was one of my criticisms too, because I felt like we didn't really get to see too much of her doing anything like very much wrong. Like she did a lot of things wrong, but I mean to the point of like they were saying her staff was afraid of her and such, and it didn't really. There weren't very many inflammatory clips of her, and I felt like that was a big weakness of the episode, because it was like, okay, like she's old, she's German, like what do you expect? Like, Jesus Christ. And so then you have her husband Mike, and again you have a family business. Oh, wow, a new trailer for the Spider-Man fan film came out that I'm in. I am in a Spider-Man fan film called Spider-Man Kickoff, and I play the Kingpin, Wilson Fisk. I almost forgot his name because, you just call him the Kingpin. Even when I was on set, they didn't even call me Wilson Fisk. They called me the Kingpin. They said, okay, let's get the Kingpin on set now. But anyways, Mike is he's a pushover. He's just a total pushover. You can tell, she dominates him, and he probably enjoys it, and so that's his business. So he's another kind of, but my point is, like, and this is not a personal insult, he's just another quiet guy. For this restaurant being so dysfunctional and the food being so trash, these people are so quiet, and the servers, like they showed the main waitress a little bit, but like we hardly got to see any of her in terms of like her personality or learn anything about her. And another kind of very quiet person, and the leader of the quiets is this guy named Irving. He is the head chef. Just saying his name makes me laugh, okay? Because this guy, he kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, that guy from The Walking Dead. I can't remember, like, what the guy's name was or anything about him, but just that guy. I think he was in Moana, and he was in Shazam or something, but he reminds me of him. And what's hilarious is that, like, this guy, he is, like, the most quiet, like, pushover head chef I've ever seen. And the whole time, like, he's afraid. He's so afraid of his boss, of Renata, that he's almost about to pee his pants when Chef Gordon is asking him to just, talk about the restaurant. And, he's acting like he's like, and Renata has to tell him,
Speak up to Chef Gordon. It's okay. You'll just tell him what's going on here.
and he's like, and at one point he keeps on saying, like, he doesn't want to hurt a friend because he's been working with her for years. And, she's like a mentor to him, which is hilarious because both of them are so quiet. And their relationship, it kind of reminds me a bit of Dwight and Michael from The Office. But the funniest thing is that this guy, he is like, I swear to God, and this is, again, this is from what I've seen on this episode, he is the most whiniest baby I've ever seen. He was so whiny. He was so soy. But then at the same time, like, it's like, I guess he's a good chef. I guess. They don't really... And that's one of the biggest criticisms, is that this is another one where, they spent a long time to get to the part where they would actually fix the restaurant. We didn't really get to find out much about, like, the financial situation. Like, we found out a little bit, like, the husband, he's using his pension to help the restaurant, and, the restaurant's failing as usual with all these episodes. But we don't really get to find out very many, like, details. Like, when I'm thinking about a Kitchen Nightmares episode, I'm thinking about, we gotta just have the basics at the very least. This restaurant is $7,500,000 in debt. You gotta have something like that. You gotta have a moment when they say something like that, because that's what you gotta do. It's just what you gotta do to make a good TV episode, So, yeah. So, anyways, while Chef Gordon is, examining them and watching them work, he notices that Irving is so scared. He's so whiny. It's ridiculous. Chef Gordon goes, not into the closet, but he goes into the freezer. And it's so funny because as soon as he goes into the freezer, he says, "Oh my God." And then they cut to a commercial. I think, what I think would be really hilarious? If one of these times after he says, "Oh my God," if they cut back and you could see the freezer and there's, like, absolutely nothing wrong, and it turns out that, like, this is the one time where he's like, "This is the most clean and sparkling freezer I've ever seen." That would be hilarious. Like, the one time where the freezer didn't have, like, zombie apocalypse materials in it. And so he finds a lot of strange things. He finds some cucumbers that are so rotten you can finger them and put your fingers all the way through them. He finds carrots that are like, they have turned soft and limp, certain people in the restaurant. And then he finds a container, and it has something in it. I don't know what it is. It's green stuff. It kind of reminds me, if you guys have ever seen Goosebumps, "Stay out of the basement." Incredible show, by the way. The old show, not the new one from Disney Plus, not the shitty Hulu one, but the old one. They have this part where the kids are being served this like green goop, and it looks kind of like this substance, whatever this is. And he smells it. It's so bad he's gonna throw up. It's moldy and rotten. And thank God that I wasn't there, because as you guys can hear and probably notice, I have allergies right now. I have an allergy issue when it comes to mold, and I have this mold problem in my room that, you know, I've had to, you know, contact maintenance over like 1 million times in the past couple of months, and it still hasn't been fixed and or figured out, I should say. And thank God I wasn't there, because I probably would have passed out. I mean, that looked really, really bad. It looked like something that just, I mean, you see that, and like if I was there, like I would literally just walk out of the freezer and then just leave the entire restaurant and never come back. And even Chef Golden said, he said, you know, if this place had an inspection right now, you guys would be shut down forever. And what was so hilarious, this probably was the funniest part of the whole episode. Renata, she said she was surprised by that. She was surprised that she would be shut down, because she thought I mean, it almost feels too ridiculous to say. She thought Gordon would be impressed by her restaurant, and by the food, and by the whole situation, and the head chef that's like a big baby. You know, she thought that Gordon would be impressed. I mean, that is just so funny. She was so upset. She started to cry. She got emotional, and she broke. She broke because her whole idea was that poor Chef Gordon would come over, and he'd be like a hero, and he'd be like, "Oh my God, Renata, your German food is so good. It's straight out of the freezer, like my frozen food." You know, like she thought he was going to come there and be like, "No, it's not the food that's the problem. It's the people. You know, it's the locals. They're the problem, and I've got to fix them by promoting this place." But no, he wore her down. Even though this is now Soy Chef Gordon, he wore her down to the point of tears. He said, "I've seen what you've been doing, you effing dictator. I've seen what you've been doing in this place." And he said, I'm going to give you the business. And he gave her the business. And in fact, Chef Gordon threw a little bit of a temper tantrum. He threw a little bit of a tantrum. He shut down the entire restaurant. And he went outside and sat in his car. Which I've never seen that before. He just goes outside and sits in his car. And I was like, "What are you doing out there, Chef Gordon?" Like literally, though. What was he doing there? Was he expecting someone to come out? What was he doing? Was he expecting his producer to come talk to him? Like, it was a very strange kind of like setup situation. But then Renata comes out. She sits in the car with him, and that was hilarious too. It's like, oh wow, they're sitting in the car together, talking about the restaurant when they could just be standing outside. That was so weird. It felt a little bit like they were trying to emulate Bar Rescue or something. That's kind of the feeling that I got from this episode, and especially later on, Chef Gordon brings in an expert to help him. And that's something you would see on Bar Rescue. So anyways, she says she's ready to do whatever he wants for her to do to save the business. And, we've seen this before where, like, you have this leader who is, she or he, they're doing bad stuff, or they're not letting their whiny crybaby chef do whatever. Like, we've seen this before, and then all of a sudden she has a moment, she has an epiphany of like, oh, wait a second, actually, I'm not like that. And it's really weird. Like, she leaves and she comes back. She's got a completely different hairstyle, which, again, I don't know what it is. Like, these bosses leave and then they come back and they look like totally different people. And it's almost like they're trying to, like, she went home, they go home and they try to fix up their image. And they put on a performance for the camera. And from then on, she's basically just, she's softened up. And, she's going to listen to Chef Gordon. And he does the same old thing. He cleans up the restaurant. He throws out the microwave. And he remodels the whole place, which it looked very nice, actually. I thought that was great, the remodeling. I thought that it looked really, really nice afterwards. And then, of course, he simplifies the menu. And he takes the liver and dumpling soup off of the menu, which, whatever. I mean, yeah, liver is not everyone's favorite. I mean, to me, I would say that you should have, like, just two soups. Don't have a soup of the day. Just have, like a crowd pleaser soup, and then have the liver and dumpling soup. The more kind of obscure, authentic soup. You can have both. And that way, you can kind of play both sides of the audience, and I don't think that would be too hard. But anyways, they all love the food. She loves the food. By the way, she claimed her food was authentic. And we saw some customers, they were very upset. Their food was cold. They were saying it was inauthentic. They were turned off by how it was frozen and then heated up in the microwave. So, but now they have their little test service, which it was only like 3 minutes long. It was very, very short. And basically what happens is the crybaby head chef, Irving, he once again has some issues, and they all have problems with communication, because, he's complaining she's still not really inspiring him or leading him. And again, it's like this place, and this is not a judgment, because if I were to work at that restaurant, you would have to assume so of me. You go to a place like this, and you gotta be one of those guys who loves to be dominated. Because, I mean, you could tell. I mean, he's like, she still won't dominate me hard enough. I still don't know what to do. It's just burgers and pieces of meat and schnitzel. I don't know what to do. She's not dominating me enough. She's got to dominate me as a leader. And so, but she does. She dominates him and to perfection. She dominates everyone, of course, because she's the dictator of Hanover, Illinois. And, but it's great. I mean, I love German food. Like, even if I didn't know anything about the restaurant or anything, I probably would want to go there just because I want to go eat German food somewhere. Like, German food, that's a niche. That's a niche that she is filling. It's a specialty. You know, like, I don't even think that in my city that there's a single German restaurant. There's like 10 Chinese restaurants. There's 10 sub shops, 10 pizza places, 10, garbage fast food places. I don't think that there's a single German place. And if there was, I would be eating it. Even if it was bad, probably. I would probably want to try things off the menu. And so anyways, but they get their shit sorted out. It doesn't take very long, and you can tell that she kind of wants to go back to her old ways. And then she even says in the interview, I guess the old ways do not work anymore, and so now I have to do the new ways. And it's like, yeah, I guess. And so then Chef Gordon steps outside and he talks to the camera. And he says, boy, oh boy, this restaurant was a disaster and I fixed it up. And then the episode ends. And then, once again, we get a video update from Renata and her husband, and they confirm the restaurant's doing fine. And I looked up on Google, the place is still open, and hopefully people are enjoying it, and the place completely turned around. But I have to say, this episode is probably one of the weaker ones that I've seen so far. I felt like it was very choppy. I felt like it was incomplete. And I felt like it was kind of dissatisfying because it didn't really give me the full picture of like what was going on. Like it felt like there were little pieces that were missing. Like Chef Gordon does tell her that her staff is afraid of her, and she says that like that's bogus, and that they can go to her if they want to criticize something or anything or another, and we don't really get to see like any like abusive behavior from her. Like she seems like a German woman. Like, I don't understand. Even Gordon. Like, even with Gordon, like, I don't understand, like, what he thought she was going to be like. Like, that's just who they are. That's just what, and that's not a bad thing either. Like, that's how German people are still around because, throughout history, they'll speak up and they'll fight back and they'll do all sorts of things and shit. They'll make cream puffs and shit. But yeah, so anyways, I love sauerkraut, but this episode, I would give this episode a C+. No, I'll give it a B-. It's enjoyable. I would watch it again, but I felt like parts were missing. I thought it was super bizarre when the leader left and then she came back with new hair. And all of a sudden, she was amenable to all the changes. I almost think that, like, they have talks behind the scenes where they tell the bosses, the managers, like, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go home, put on your best clothes, and get a hair job. Get a hair job at the salon, and then come back. And then for the rest of the episode, just, be on your best behavior and just try to do whatever Chef Gordon asks. I feel like they've got to be doing something like that because every episode now you have that. The leader leaves, they come back, they're completely different, their hair's different, their clothes are different, and all of a sudden the restaurant's fine. Okay, so anyways, please like this video, comment, And subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest kitchen nightmare reviews. And that's it. Oh, last but not least, please do not forget to check out our Patreon page if you would like to support this channel even further and get access to a ton of exclusive bonus content, bonus reviews, my short film. Recently, I did a review of a new movie called Soulmate, and that is a spin-off of the Megan series. So if you are curious to see what I have to say about Soulmate for like an hour, then hop on over there and enjoy. So that's it. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.